let's face it, one of the things that we talked about in AD after disclosure was the history books are going to have to be rewritten. Studies of human psychology will be undertaken that will try to look back at that history. It's going to be a fascinating time. It may be a scary time, but it will also be a historical time. And I'm with you on this. I'm not the young man I used to be. And so I'm glad that we're getting on with it, because I think too many people over the years, people like Donald Kehoe and Stanton Friedman and people that really gave their lives and devoted the fiber of their beings to trying to understand this story and tell other people about it, had to pass on without knowing what happened. Alan Hynek, things like that. I'm eager to know as much as I can know before I pass on. And I think a lot of people feel that way. It's like, okay, let's just do it.
What's next? Let's have it. Let's have it.
Yeah.
I have mentioned a couple of times about pushback. You see it already for some scientists who are, even though they're being presented with stuff they really have ignored and haven't paid attention to, they still pretend to be experts. I'm thinking of Neil deGrasse Tyson, who's tied himself into knots, increasingly weird statements. He clearly does not know squat about this. He has not studied the UFO cases. He doesn't know the technology that our pilots use. And his why not a reasonable position of, I look forward to learning more about this, as opposed to some of the flat-out denials that he's done.
It's a mystery. I'll tell you something, George. I think you and I should challenge Neil deGrasse Tyson and a partner of his choice to a debate and try to resolve this, because it's getting old. He's not progressing his knowledge about this, and he's not behaving in a way of curiosity. He's a charming guy, I get that, and he's smart and knowledgeable, but there's just something wrong with the way he's looking at it. Carl Sagan had a little bit of that too, where Carl would say that the universe was teeming with life, and there were, remember, billions and billions of planets. And yet he would say UFOs can't possibly be here because the distances are too great. Well, they're here. I don't know exactly where they're from, but they're here. So it's time for the Neil deGrasse Tysons to begin to grapple with that. Now, I think the thing that's kind of sad is that the media still goes out to talk to him to get a soundbite from them. And I saw him interviewed on CNN the other day, and it just made me want to tear my fist out of the ceiling. Because at the end of it, he said, well, I'm just glad the aliens didn't land at Comic-Con, because, man, with all those costumes, how did we tell who was who?
Yeah, or, why don't we have a cigarette lighter from a flying saucer? That old chestnut.
It's just ridiculous, and I just expect more from him, and I guess I need to learn how to lower my expectations and move on. But I will. But let's also put the positive spin on this. It is true that there's the skeptics and the debunkers, like the Mick West and the Neil deGrasse Tysons, are still out there. But what's different this time is that the very connected people, some of the governmental representatives, officials, intellectuals, some of these people are not throwing cold water on this anymore. And in fact, they're more than willing to talk about it. And I'm thinking of people like Marco Rubio, who's been, regardless of what one might think of his politics, what I find interesting about him is, here is a man who is politically ambitious. He intends to run for president in 2024. And yet he's been as outspoken as anybody on this topic. And so he must think that it's not going to hurt him. Now, think about that. I think what we can predict, and here's an AD prediction for you, we went through 2020 where even though this news was out there, it never came up in any of the debates. I mean, think about that. That's just sad. But I don't think it'll be that way in 2024. It's going to be an election issue in 2024.
Well, it's going to be one sooner than that. When's he running for re-election to the Senate? He's going to have a challenger. You can bet it's going to come up.
That's true. But he has done exactly the savvy thing. He has painted it in national security. So he's saying, I just want to get the answer. If it's Russia or China, I need to know. But he knows where. Look, he has had, and so have many of these other people, have had some serious briefings where we may have seen the 3 video clips of these famous videos, but they've seen the high-resolution versions, and they've seen the extended play versions, and these guys know that this is not normal. And so they may be playing a game, the political game right now of how to talk about it, but they know where this is going, and they know it's going there fast. And they know that by 2024, it's going to be a big issue.
You've been writing these amazing essays and thought pieces, think pieces for Medium.
Yeah.
Tell the audience, for those not familiar with Medium, what it is, how you access it, why you're writing there. And also, I want to, maybe we'll have to do this on the other side, but there's a lot of pushback that has suddenly happened in the last couple of weeks on Medium. People who are basically saying it's anything but aliens. No, not that.
Right.
It can't be. And clearly, our military and our pilots and our, our sensors have to be all wrong.
Yeah, well, first of all, let's take that. Medium is just think of it as a giant ecosystem for writers and readers to come together. The reason I like to write on Medium is that there are no ads, right? So people can read an article and not have to fight their way through the ads. And by the way, people that are listening to us right now, if they'd like to read any of these articles, I've put them out there under a URL where there's no paywall and no ads or nothing, and that's whatifufos.com. So whatifufos.com, and that you can see those for free. But the reason I started writing on Medium, George, is that I felt like it was the one thing I could do that wasn't being done, which is I just saw something missing, and that was professionally written, magazine quality writing that includes analysis and commentary. I'm seeing a lot of articles from the mainstream media where they're trying to sort of bring people up to speed on things, but they're not doing what you and I are doing right now, which is analyzing it and commenting. And I remember growing up, I'd love to read Newsweek's, back page because it had a great essay from a great writer. I'm trying to bring that to the UFO topic, I guess, is what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, it's good. And as I said, I've seen a spate of articles that are taking the opposite position on that.
Oh, well, let me get into that, because you're right. But that's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
You've got 170 million people reading Medium, and then you've got a bunch of people who are trying to write on it, and it's just human nature. People go, well, if everyone's saying that this is what's going on with the UFO story, I'll take the contrary position.
Yeah.
I'm not getting personally a lot of pushback on the articles I'm writing, because the people who are reading these Trail of the Saucer articles are very literate people on this subject, and I think they're enjoying just seeing it discussed for a change in a way that doesn't ever mention little green men.
Right.
And tries to take the topic seriously. And I think there's been a hunger for that for many years, and it's an itch that we are scratching by trying to write. And it's a collective of writers I've assembled here. It's not just me, but it's other people who have something to say, and just trying to get more, increase the speech, get more people talking about it in a legitimate way.
Yeah, it's good to have multiple viewpoints. I'm not complaining about it. I just have noted there is a whole bunch of them in the last 2 weeks. So on that site.
I've seen some of that too. But I do think that kind of stuff is going to fall away. I mean, the weight of the evidence that is about to be presented and will be presented in the future is so strong and so compelling that at the end of the day, anybody who's following it is going to say there's something there.
All right.
There may be a lot of noise, but there's a signal. There may be a lot of smoke, but there's a fire.
Bryce Zabel is my guest, talking about all things UFO and UAP, including the task force report that's coming up. We go into the break with the King, Elvis.
A very old friend came by today, because he was telling everyone in town of the love that he has found, and Marie's the name of his latest flame.
I have a sign in my office. Is Diet Pepsi okay? And the answer is Monopoly money okay?
Bill Handle. Mornings from 6 to 10 on KFI.
If you or your family have been financially impacted by COVID-19, this pandemic is not your fault, and new California laws have been passed to help.
That's right. If you've fallen behind on your mortgage or run up credit card or business debt, please listen carefully.
Our friends at Oak Tree Law know every letter of the new laws, and just listen to these real examples of how they've helped our listeners.
A nurse from Torrance had her hours cut due to COVID-19. She was hit with medical issues of her own, racked up $160,000 in debt, and fell behind on her mortgage. With this new law, she was able to get current on her mortgage and eliminate the bad debt.
Here's a story about a real estate agent and her husband in Pasadena. Their income stopped when the pandemic hit. Their second mortgage was threatening to foreclose, and they had $75,000 in credit card and business debt. This new law allowed them to protect their home and eliminate the debt.
This pandemic has affected us all, but there is life-changing help available with one absolutely free call to Oak Tree Law.
800-542-2949, 800-542-2949, or visit OaktreeLaw.com.
It was a beautiful June morning in Southern California.
Birds were chirping. The sun was shining.
And somewhere on a quiet residential street, a sink was clogging.
The couple experiencing the clog
Mr. and Mrs. JP
did something they had never done before. They called the Smell Good plumbers at Mike Diamond. I'm Mike Diamond. I guarantee my plumbers will show up on time and unclog your sink for $99.
A technician showed up promptly and unclogged the sink.
A few months later, a much more intensive problem turned up in the bathroom.
Mr. JP called Mike Diamond again. They worked up a plan and the repair was made.
Mr. and Mrs. JP felt good enough about the experience to sit down and write us an email.
They commended the Smell Good plumbers on their service and closed by saying they would use Mike Diamond on future services and recommend them to anyone in need of plumbing repairs.
We love Mr. and Mrs. JP, and we'd love for you to read their testimonial and more before calling your next plumber. The address is MikeDiamond.com, or just call us at 1-800-446-MIKE. Contractor's license number 399170. What the hell is going on? Well, we're about to tell you. KFI AM 640 Los Angeles, Orange County.
And KOST HD2.
It's 5 a.m. What did you miss?
It's time for Wake Up Call with Jennifer Jones-Lee.
Happy Monday, happy Monday. Oh, happy day. This is a wake-up call on your Monday morning. It's today the 14th. Yes. How do I forget that? It's the 14th because we've been waiting for so long to say it's June 15th. And the economy is reopening here in California. So that's one of the stories we're following. But first, I'm in for Jennifer Jones-Lee this week. Who told her she can have a week off? I'm happy to be here with you, Alex and John. There's a lot happening here at KFI. It's a big day. Bill Handel returns to his show this morning starting at 6 o'clock. I'm clapping for you, Bill. He's been out for back surgery. He's recovering well. He's here with the team this morning. And so make sure you stick around to hear Bill Handel. But here's what we're working on right now for Wake Up Call. By the way, we're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Some of the stories we're following this morning: homes destroyed in a brush fire. This has been something we're following overnight. The latest in that fire that's burning just south of Palm Desert. And a special tribute today, the Orange County Zoo making a dedication in honor of Aiden Laos, the 6-year-old boy who was killed in that road rage shooting on the 55 freeway last month. And as I teased at the very top, fully reopening. We are a day away from lifting most COVID-19 restrictions across the state. June 15th, the day we've been hearing about. And somebody's winning some big money tomorrow, too, if you've been vaccinated. They're still doing the Vax Million or whatever it's called, Vax Win. If you get a vaccine, you might get some money from the governor. At 5:05, fresh off of his meeting with G7 leaders in the UK, President Biden turns his attention to the NATO summit in Brussels. So coming up, we're talking with Karen Travers of ABC News about what the president's message will be about today. But right now, let's start with some of those stories coming to you from the KFI 24-hour newsroom. The CHP says the body of a woman has been found on the right shoulder of the 210 freeway in Glendora. CHP patrol officers say it looks like she was shot and killed. About 400 firefighters have worked through the night to control a 400-acre brush fire in the San Bernardino National Forest. That fire was first reported around 11 o'clock yesterday morning in the Pinyon Pines area just south of Palm Desert. It has destroyed 2 homes, caused some mandatory evacuations. The 74 is closed in Palm Desert. The fire is roughly 10% contained. And tomorrow is the day California lifting COVID-19 restrictions. There will be no capacity limits or physical distancing requirements for businesses. Fully vaccinated people can stop wearing masks in most places. And later this week, the California Occupational Safety and Health Standards Board is set to consider revising its rules for businesses over who needs to wear masks and where. Well, close to 1,500 citations have been issued against businesses in L.A. County because of the COVID-19 health order.
Most of them are restaurants, followed by gyms, churches, salons, strip clubs, and street vendors. The data from the County Health Department's website show the first citation was issued June 29th of 2020 at a restaurant in Playa del Rey, while the most recent, on June 5th of this year, was issued to a restaurant in Downey. Some restaurants, like Tin Horn Flats in Burbank and Cronies in Thousand Oaks, show up in the data multiple times. Health officials have said they tried to work with business owners and citations were a last resort. Some business owners have said they felt bullied and were treated unfairly. Steve Gregory, Kfi News.
We know it's hot out there. If you were outside at all this weekend, burning up, well, nearly 30 pools around Los Angeles are set to reopen today. The LA Department of Recreation and Parks says it's just in time for an expected heat wave. Most will be open in the afternoon. The department says anyone using the pools, though, will need to follow COVID-19 guidelines. The attorney representing employees who are suing a hospital in Texas over its COVID-19 vaccine requirement says they're willing to take the case all the way to the Supreme Court. Lawyer Jared Woodfield says this is because a federal judge dismissed the lawsuit over the weekend.
Ultimately, we think that the policy that's been put in place by Methodist Hospital is illegal, unlawful, immoral, and just outright wrong.
Woodfield says the Methodist Hospital in Houston has told the employees they will lose their jobs if they do not get vaccinated against COVID-19. Now, when we come back, we'll talk with ABC's Karen Travers about President Biden's meeting with world leaders. But right now, let's check that drive. Do I have a traffic sponsor right now? Let me see. Not yet. I'm excited to talk to you though this morning. Hello, Robin Banks. How are you?
Morning. I'm well, Layla. Good to have you.
Thank you. Hopefully you have some good news on the roads already.
Yep, they're cleaning up in Willowbrook on the 105 westbound just after Wilmington Avenue. Had a wreck here in the carpool lane. It's still flared off. You can drive it though, but CHP's still on scene there on the right shoulder, so it looks a little confusing. You're going to find some slowdown there. Buena Park, 91 eastbound just before Knott. It's a wreck that moved over to the right shoulder. Anaheim Hills, some kind of debris to watch for. It's 91 westbound just after Coal Canyon. The right lane of the fast track lane is going to be blocked. And Riverside, 91 west at Adams. A report of a fire, brush fire there on the right shoulder. Fire crews are on scene on the off-ramp, so we'll keep you posted on that. KFI in the Sky helps get you there faster. I'm Robin Banks.
All right, thanks, Robin. Right now at 5:05 on your wake-up call, let's say good morning to ABC's Karen Travers. Hey, Karen.
Hey, good morning.
You had a great weekend.
Yeah, busy. We were on the move a lot. It's actually afternoon here in Brussels.
That's right, you're
and the
traveling.
the President's Day has been underway for a little bit. He was NATO for a one-day summit with NATO country leaders. There is a lot on the agenda, and they're packing a lot into just one day. He's here, as he was at the G7, to convey to other world leaders that under his leadership, America is back at the table. He's reaffirming the U.S. commitment to the NATO military alliance, which he says is rock solid. And that's a pivot from the position of former President Trump, who called NATO obsolete, questioned whether or not the United States should come to the defense of another NATO country if they were attacked. He also threatened to pull the U.S. out of NATO. So world leaders are certainly eager to hear from the president today that the U.S. is going to stand with them and is committed to the alliance.
Are there certain relationships that President Biden is really focused on working on or solidifying during this meeting?
You know, I don't think there's one particular country, I would say, in the meetings of the G7 or here at NATO. It's really the broader commitment to these international alliances, to working with allies and, trying to put the United States at the front of the conversation on things like COVID-19, climate change, Afghanistan, and Russia. And Russia is going to be a big part of the conversation here today. And it's, of course, by design that the president goes to the G7, then goes to NATO and meets with more world world leaders before he has the meeting with Vladimir Putin in Geneva on Wednesday. He is hearing over the past week many concerns and issues that these other countries would like to see him raise with Vladimir Putin, and he's getting a sense of the lay of the land in Europe. I think it was also notable that today, behind closed doors, we didn't get to see this, but the president met with the leaders of 3 Baltic nations, Latvia, Estonia, and Lithuania. And that meeting is very much intended to send a message to Vladimir Putin that the United States stands with the countries that are concerned about Russia's aggression and that are in Putin's backyard.
Okay, and let's talk a little bit about what happened yesterday, right? So, or what wrapped up, I should say, what wrapped up yesterday. 'Cause I know he also met with the Queen. We're getting with that later on in this morning on Wake Up Call. But let's talk about the meeting with the G7 leaders. What were some of the highlights? I know vaccines was a big part of the discussion from world leaders committing vaccines to some poorer nations. Kind of recap for us what was accomplished with the G7 summit.
Yeah, that was a big one. The group comes together to agree to donate 1 billion COVID vaccine doses to poor nations around the world. The United States will be half of that commitment, 500 million doses of the Pfizer vaccine. But the president says will start going out as early as August and will continue over the fall and into early 2022. So this is a significant commitment, but the president yesterday signaled that there could be more to come, another 1 billion doses or so. Because certainly groups that are working on this global immunization campaign say, this is great, this is a lot, 1 billion doses is good, but more needs to be done. We're talking in the line of like 10 billion doses. So, there's going to be pressure for these powerful economies, these rich countries to do that, but the president certainly felt good that they could at least come together and agree on this right now.
And you teased ahead a little bit to Wednesday, the big meeting with Vladimir Putin. And of course, we've been talking a lot about cyber security. We're talking about hacks that have been happening here in the U.S. What is supposed to be the focus of that meeting?
Yeah, that's going to be a big part of it. The president, White House officials say, will pressure Putin on cybersecurity, on Russia's aggression against Ukraine, on human rights violations, a long list of things that the president's going to bring to the table. After those meetings, because they're going to do a couple different sessions, President Biden will hold a press conference. It's going to be just him. He is not doing it with President Putin like President Trump did, so it's a little bit of a shift. Yesterday, the president was defending doing this solo press conference by saying he doesn't want the conversation and the whole narrative to be distracted by who talked the most, did they shake hands, what was the body language all about. He says, I'll come out and say what the meeting was like, and he'll come out and say what he thought the meetings were like.
Well, Karen Travers, always a pleasure talking with you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Have a great day. Thanks.
You too. All right, let's get back to some of those stories coming out of the KFI 24-hour newsroom. We heard Karen just talking about President Biden in Brussels today for a one-day NATO summit. Biden says he wants to make sure Europe knows that America is back.
I want to make it clear. NATO is critically important for U.S. interests in and of itself. If there weren't one, we'd have to invent one.
It's the first in-person NATO gathering since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. Former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says the Biden administration's global goals are not helping Americans.
They have raised climate change to the singularly most important topic that they're going to cover.
Pompeo says the Green New Deal will not make lives better for Americans. Well, it looks like the border between the U.S. and Canada is staying closed, at least for now. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says he and President Biden have not reached a deal on easing border restrictions. Trudeau explained that Canada needs to vaccinate more people before the ban on non-essential travel can be lifted. The border between the two countries has been closed since last March when the pandemic was just beginning to surge. Israel has a new prime minister. Naftali Bennett has replaced longtime leader Benjamin Netanyahu. The new government has been sworn in, and Netanyahu is now in opposition. He was prime minister for 12 years, the longest anyone has held that position in Israel. Ned Beatty, one of Hollywood's most prolific supporting actors, has died. ABC's Megan Tevrizian. Oh, Lord, Megan, I'm sorry. Megan Tevrizian. Says Beatty's acting career spanned 50 years.
His film career began in 1972 as a happy-go-lucky member of a four-man canoe trip in Deliverance.
Well, hell, I guess this river comes out somewhere, don't it?
Beatty then received an Oscar nomination for his role in the 1976 movie Network.
Beatty's other movie credits include All the President's Men, Nashville, The Big Easy, and Superman. He was 83. Megan, I'm sorry. As someone whose name is always butchered, I should know better. I should know better. I'll do better, I promise. When we come back, we're sticking with President Biden's travels. We're talking with ABC's Tom Rivers over in London because, the president met with the Queen yesterday along with First Lady Jill. I watched it because I was here at work and it was on the TV while I was working yesterday, and they had tea. I have so many questions about having tea with the Queen. So we'll have some tea talk coming up. Plus, the latest business headlines in your Biz Bites. But right now, let's take a look at the drive. From the Southern California Toyota Dealers Traffic Center, we make it easy. Robin, why did they let me out the house?
Because, they know you wake up eventually.
I am not
you have a track record.
Oh, my goodness. Poor Megan. I hope she's not listening. She's like, who was she talking about?
I know. You're going to feel bad about that all day.
So terrible. All right. Hopefully the drive is better than my pronunciation skills this morning.
It is a little bit easy. It's easy to get around to right now. Boyda Park, there was a crash. 91 eastbound, just before Knott Avenue. It's all moved to the right shoulder, so there's not a whole lot going on there except, a little right shoulder activity. Anaheim Hills, something in the roadway on the 91 westbound just after Cold Canyon. It's debris in the right fast track lane. Now, Riverside, we still have crews on scene of a brush fire here on the 91 west at Adams. It's on the right shoulder of the off-ramp at Adams, and they've got the off-ramp closed down. So just keep an eye on that. It doesn't look like it's slowing you down all that much. If you travel 10 westbound from the 57 into downtown Los Angeles, expect a pretty good ride, only 22 minutes to make it. KFI in the Sky helps get you there faster. I'm Robin Banks.
This report is sponsored by Mercury Insurance. Low rates, big discounts, great insurance. You get it all with Mercury. And the best part is that it only takes a few minutes to get a fast free quote. That's right, just a few minutes could save you a few $100s. So what are you waiting for? Get started with a free quote today at mercuryinsurance.com.
This is Dan Patrick. Here's what's trending on the iHeart Sports Network, presented by Mercedes-AMG.
The Suns punched a ticket to their first Western Conference final since 2010. Phoenix swept the Nuggets and the league's MVP, Nikola Jokic. The Clippers look to even up their series against the Jazz tonight. LA dominated top-ranked Utah in their first game at Staples Center. And Walker Buehler is Mr. Consistency for the Dodgers. He extended his winning streak to 29 starts as True Blue took the series over the Rangers. I'm Steve Jordan.
What's the difference between an AMG skeptic and an AMG believer? A split second. The time it takes to fire up the ignition, step on the gas, and hear that gutsy engine roar. Go to mbusa.com/AMG. Mercedes-AMG driving performance.
I know you've seen all those great home loans being advertised, but you're probably not sure if you qualify. Or maybe you've been told, nope, you can't get that low rate. Well, I bet you haven't called IntelliLoan. Right now, IntelliLoan has a 1.99% rate in APR with no points or lender fees for SoCal residents, and this is even if your credit score is as low as 620. It's a 1.99% rate in APR with no points and no lender fees. And you've heard me talk about Daryl, the owner of IntelliLoan. He's got a team of home loan specialists that really want to make this home loan process not suck. They want to make it as hassle-free as possible for you. So call IntelliLoan today at 1-800-918-6200. That's 1-800-918-6200, or just go to IntelliLoan.com.
Rates subject to change without notice. Minimum loan amount requirements apply. 60% loan to value and 620 FICO credit score. Certain restrictions apply. Subject to credit approval. NMLS 3290. Loans made or arranged pursuant to a California Finance Lenders Law license number 6036970. Equal housing lender. IntelliLoan. Borrow smart.
Rick Edelman, award-winning radio host and founder of Edelman Financial Engines, takes questions on his radio show. Let's hear his advice on annuities.
Hey Rick, I'm looking for a good investment. Should I consider a fixed annuity?
Well, fixed annuities aren't really investments, they're insurance products. You'll get a fixed rate of return from them, but it might not be enough to offset taxes and inflation. Most annuity contracts require you to keep the money there for 5 to 10 years, and if you're under age 59 and a half, any withdrawals are subject to a 10% IRS penalty. You should talk, therefore, to a fee-based financial advisor to see if an annuity is right for you, not someone who makes a living earning commissions selling annuities. You want a fiduciary who puts your best interests first.
If you're looking for a trusted partner who's got your back, talk to one of our experienced financial planners by calling 888-PLAN-RICK. or visit rickedelman.com.
Have you wanted to speak a new language but thought it'd be too difficult or take too much time? Then try Babbel. Whether you want to learn Spanish for future travel plans, French to connect with extended family, or German to land a new job, in just 15 minutes a day, Babbel works because it's built around real life. It teaches you everyday practical conversations that you'll actually use. All you need is 15 minutes a day, and you'll be on your way to confidently speaking a new language in just a few weeks. Babbel is designed by real language experts using a modern conversation-based technique that makes learning fun, engaging, and best of all, memorable. It starts by teaching you words and phrases. Then sentences gradually get more complex. Soon you're practicing short conversations about real-life topics. And with 14 languages to choose from and lesson topics like travel, business, relationships, and more, you'll be sure to learn what matters most to you. Babbel. Language for life. Learn a new language with ease. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
In 1975, my family lived under the boot of communist Russia. Hello, I'm John Akoyan, owner of Rooter Hero Plumbing. Communism was so oppressive that my dad, who didn't speak a word of English, left everything behind and immigrated us to America. I was only 3 years old. I can't imagine the courage it took to do that. My father put us first, and at Rooter Hero Plumbing, we put you first. That's why we always offer you an affordable solution. If you have a clogged drain, call us at 866-DRAIN-77, and we'll cable your line for only $77. That's 866-DRAIN-77. Thank you for trusting Rooter Hero Plumbing with your most valuable asset, your home. I miss my dad, but his sacrifice will never be forgotten. Happy Father's Day.
CL 102-8886.
Hi, it's insert talent name here. You already know that when you have the free iHeart app, you can bring along Please Mention KFI and thousands of other stations just like this one with you anytime, anywhere, on any device. Okay? And now with the iHeart app, you could be one of the first to win a trip to the iconic iHeart Music Festival in Las Vegas. Simply download the free iHeart app and search Win to enter. iHeart #1 with music, radio, podcasts, all in one app. Okay, let's do this.
Handle is back. Again, haters gonna hate. At 6 a.m., KFI AM 640. More stimulating talk.
On this Monday morning, June 14th, I'm Layla Muhammad in for Jennifer Jones-Lee, who is enjoying a nice vacation. I think she's still in town. I think she's just off and family's visiting, so I hope she's having a good time with her family. A couple of stories we're following out of the KFI newsroom, staying on top of this story from a CHP investigating a body found on the freeway this morning around 1 o'clock. This was on the 210 freeway in Glendora at Sunflower Avenue. A woman's body found on the freeway. Authorities say she had been shot. And get ready for a heat wave. Triple-digit temperatures expected to hit the mountains and valleys this week. I thought we had enough of it this weekend. It was rough out there yesterday. Although, if you're a person who likes to go to the beach earlier in the daytime, like I do, like a good 10 o'clock beach time, you can knock that out early before the sun starts cooking out there. At 5:35, we're talking with ABC's Aaron Katursky about some subpoenaed data that was revealed after a gag order expired. Let's check a couple of other stories coming out of the KFI 24-hour newsroom before we get to ABC's Tom Rivers in London. Authorities say they have found a body in Joshua Tree National Park. They say it was found yesterday in a hiking area. They have called off a search for a man who had been missing since June 5th. When he left 29 Palms to visit family in Riverside. Well, there is an effort in Riverside County to defund the Sheriff's Department.
But the organizations behind the effort emphasize they're not anti-cop. Instead, groups like Starting Over Incorporated told the Press Enterprise money spent on law enforcement should be used to help those experiencing poverty and racism, especially in the criminal justice system. County supervisors will meet this week for a public hearing on how to spend the $7 billion budget for the next fiscal year, which starts July 1st. Sheriff Chad Bianco and County DA Mike Hestron have countered that cutting funding also cuts critical medical services, and staffing, which impacts response times. Steve Gregory, Kfi News.
Well, President Biden has been busy abroad. He had the G7 meeting yesterday. He's meeting with the NATO summit today. And yesterday, one thing that I was glued to on the television was the meeting with the Queen for several reasons. Usually I'm looking to see which purse she's carrying. Joining us now is ABC's Tom Rivers. I don't know why I'm so fascinated with the purse thing, but she always has her purse. And I know this is not what this segment is about, but curious minds want to know.
Well, you know, over the years, the tabloids have played with that one, and should they actually, the palace at some stage, you have to go back maybe 10, 20 years. This is what she typically carries with her, something like 5 to 10 pounds, maybe a couple of coins, maybe a comb, and that's about it. But yeah, people here in this country want to know what's in that bag as well.
Yeah, I was wondering, because she has people. She's always had people around her. She doesn't have to carry a credit card or some cash.
Nope.
You know, maybe some lip gloss, a little moisturizer for her hands. You know, I'm being so serious. Like, is there some moisturizer, a little lip gloss? Like, what do you think is in there?
Well, that's in your head if you opened up your purse or your wallet and you got money in there with your picture on. That's got to be strange.
Right. Let me give you my money. Okay, let's talk about this meeting. Wait, before I do that, are you all over there as fascinated as we are sometimes with like the royal happenings, or is it just like everyday stuff?
Yeah, it's kind of like normal everyday stuff. I have found, talking to a bunch of stations over the past few months, America is mesmerized with Harry and Meghan. And here they're like a fifth wheel over here. They're like, you decided what you want to do? You want money in Hollywood? That's good. Good luck to you, kids. And that's kind of the end of the story. Yeah, it's more of a celebrity, if you will, royal / kind of conflab in America, which here in this country, they don't wish them ill, but they're just saying, you want to make millions somewhere else, cool. Enjoy it. And good luck to you guys.
Okay, so let's talk about this meeting between President Biden and Queen Elizabeth II. So when he arrived, I noticed that he sort of walks, and does he greet the honor guard, or what's happening when he's walking down the line of guards?
Yeah, it's certainly based upon tradition, which goes back many, many years. The castle itself is 951 years old. So William the Conqueror said this is not a bad place to put a castle. It was kind of a hill heading down toward the Thames, and it's a good place to go hunting. So he said, let's build a castle here.